This meeting to order. Good afternoon. All members of the Public Assembly Facilities Commission are participating virtually. For virtual meetings, commission members will be muted until asked to be heard. At that time, they will be recognized and will be unmuted. When there is a vote, it will be necessary to take a roll call vote. A commission member will be recognized and will raise their hand and state their vote. Today's meeting is a public meeting. Citizens can listen to the meeting if they contacted the city manager's office to make the necessary arrangements. The meeting also will be live streamed on the city's YouTube channel. A recording of today's meeting will be available Friday, January 21st, 22 on the city's website. Thank you all for joining us today. Let's start with a roll call, please.
Haley?
Present.
Otis? Maybe not. Billy?
Present.
Manya? Kathleen?
Present.
Vicky? Ray? Bill?
Present.
And Priscilla. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Rachel. Did we say we had quorum or no? No.
We do not. We have Ray just hopped in, so that will make us at quorum.
Okay. Since we have quorum now, we'll go ahead and do an approval of the minutes for the November 15th meeting. Could I have someone make a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any question? All in favor, let's please do this by a roll call vote, please.
Haley?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Kat?
Aye.
Ray? Ray, it shows that you're muted. And then Bill
Aye.
and Manya just joined in as well.
Aye.
I unmuted. Aye. Ray. It's Ray.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for that. That carries. We're going to go ahead and get started with our agenda, and we'll start with our Fairgrounds Master Plan.
Thank you, Chair Jingles. I'll take this one. And Rachel, can you pull up the information memo that I sent? Rachel earlier today sent out the final executive summary from the master plan that was conducted in 2015 by Crossroads Consulting in conjunction with KO Fairgrounds Planners. So basically what we did here, what I've been doing is tracking kind of some of the things that they suggested and recommended with where we are at in the process, understanding that the original scope of improvements and maintenance totaled nearly $23 million. But the city, with the sale of the Coliseum, prioritized some of those items. A lot of that back in 2015, 2016, really was focused on the annex. And then we kind of slowly picked out pieces and prioritized as we have gone through the last few years. Now, there's other things that we've added and prioritized, such as a fairgrounds camera system, which wasn't part of that plan, but it's something that we did kind of take the time to do some capital improvements on and spend some money on for the safety and security of the facility. So I'm not going to go through each item here line by line. You guys have both options. Some of these options do outline what was recommended by the master plan. And then down below, if you look at number one, the master plan estimated a cost of $577,000 to really update the space and make it a meeting space, a true meeting space for the facility and for the city. And obviously we didn't have $577,000 to pretty much renovate the entire building. But what we did in a circumstance like this is identify what were the things that we could do to make the building more appealing to a group that wanted to have a meeting space. And with that being said, we redid the lighting, had a drop ceiling put in. Prior to that, you could see all the air vents and everything over top, and then improved the AV audio visual pieces. So those were kind of the main things we did. And we kind of went through that each item line by line to identify those pieces. So Rachel, if you'll go down to that last page where it breaks it down overall, then I can touch on a few things. Down to the, yeah, right there. So this is kind of just everything in a nutshell. Obviously, most of the work we've done, as I mentioned earlier, was really based on the annex, not only because it's our biggest building, but it also is kind of our flagship building. It's where we see the most people other than the fair. We host concerts in there, and it's an ice rink. And at the time, the Thunderbirds were not part of the grand plan, but as time come on, obviously the last 4 years we've had Thunderbird hockey, which has really helped prioritize some of the ice issues and items that we had there. So just going down, I'll touch on the campground here, the 12 new RV hookups. That was part of the city skate park project when they added the skate park over kind of in the campground area. They added 12 new hookups in what was taken out. They put back in, but it was all new, up to date 50 and 30 amp connections, and sewage and water hookups, which we don't currently have proper connections and spacing in the full entirety of the campground. So that's one of the biggest pieces for the campground. Clock tower, we repainted it, gave it a nice fresh coat of paint, which is actually holding up pretty well since 2017. And then looking at the annex, quite a bit of work done in there, a lot of it revolving around the ice rink. Pretty much everything with the ice rink production has been redone, renovated in some way other than the actual pipes that are under the floor. But we've got a new dehumidification system that was put in there. The ice rink chiller, which is the cooling piece that sends the liquid through the pipes, which freezes the floor. And then there's the header piece that is on there. I believe that's on there, should be on there somewhere. The ice header for 70,000 by Brady Train. That's kind of the main pipe or tube at the end of the ice rink that stores it all, sends it out, and then sends it back to the chiller. We did a dasher board renovation a few years ago for $99,000 with Becker Arena products. We've just recently completed all of the LED high bay lighting in the annex. So every one of those lights is now LED. The only ones in that building that are not are more so the lobby lighting and then the sidewall lighting down the arena floors. We got a new control system, the dehumidification system. That was all part of a big plan, a $972,000 project with Brady Train and Schneider Controls. And then most recently, we've added an outdoor marquee message board, which is out on Deacon Boulevard across from Truist Stadium. If you're at a football game, we've got a nice new color video marquee message board, which we can control from anywhere. I can change, well, I can't, but our marketing folks can change the visual on it on the fly. So if we needed to change the message for any reason, it's a pretty neat system. And then just most recently, this past December, we got a new scoreboard and video board as part of our capital improvement project out there. So next time you're in the annex, you'll see a nice video board, which is brand new to the annex. It's full color. It's got graphics. It's pretty nice. And then a new scoreboard on the other end of the arena, which is fully functional, and they're both LED functioning. I'm just going to keep going down. The petting zoo arena 1, both had new roofs put on as part of the recommendation back in like 2016, I believe. The midway was repaved by the city streets department. And then we also replaced the high bay LED old, I can't remember what they call them, whatever the old light bulbs are, they're now LED out there. And then we added a power distribution box really specifically for the fair and straight shows participation in 2019. We've talked a lot about the farmers market over the last year or so, a lot of improvements. I think a lot of you guys have seen the work out there. I know we've shared it, but there's site-wide LED lighting on the side of the building. All the lighting on the inside was replaced with LED lighting. 2 new commercial fans were put in to help cool the building in the summer months. And then all new conduit and outlets were installed along the exterior of the building for our vendors. The landscaping was redone with some neat farm style equipment was placed out front. And then we also commissioned 2 murals on both sides of the building that were done by an artist named Hieronymus. And then also in an effort more recently, we had the street renamed right off 27th Street. It's a private drive as you enter into the fairgrounds. It's called Farmers Market Way. And that's just another way to help brand and market the facility. Over time, Google will populate farmers markets in Winston-Salem. And because we have a street name associated with our farmers market, it'll kind of help boost that in the good old Google rank. So that was a really neat part of the project, I thought. Going down to the livestock barn in 2015, we added concrete flooring. It all used to be dirt. And every time we had to clear the barn out, we'd have to scrape dirt. Making it concrete makes it a lot easier just to go straight down the concrete and push all the hay and the dirt out of the building. We had a giant commercial fan put in there. And then we've been doing electrical infrastructure that refers to some LED lighting we've added, and then some of the outlets and conduit throughout the building along the exterior. Going to our education building, we've had a speaker system put in 2016. Actually, we already had a speaker system in there, but it was kind of renovated and retrofitted to do what we needed to do by Davidson Audio Visual. And then more recently, we had a fire alarm system upgraded and installed by Johnson Controls. Going down to the grandstand, we recoated that roof in 2016 as part of the project for $59,875. Rachel, you can go down. And then here's just some miscellaneous site-wide improvements. As I mentioned, the camera system, which we have cameras all throughout the perimeter of the fairgrounds right now at all the main gates and in the buildings, just for additional security. And then also in 2020, more so as part of the rebranding process of the fair, we did update and redo the main gates. Our main gate 1 for the fair, which we added the Carolina Classic Fair, and then added the colorful spindles. And then gate 7, which is known as our main gate for events, because we use the midway for parking, has a beautiful fairgrounds steel structure out there. And those were both done for the price there for about $30,000 in the last couple of years. And then back in 2018, we added a storage building over near the skate park site for about $117,000. So all that total, not quite $23 million, but just in a recap of about $2.8 million that we've kind of put into the facility over the last couple of years. And this is always just good to share, with you all, and especially with my staff. There's a lot of folks who think things aren't getting done up here. We don't get enough money to do things, but this is a good example of we do get some money, and we prioritize it with what we have to continually make the fairgrounds a competitive piece for events and the facility for the public. So we just wanted to take this time to share it on this agenda. And I'll answer any questions regarding that.
Thank you, Robert. Any questions from commissioners?
Are there any kind of outstanding large projects that y'all are hoping to accomplish in the next couple of years, or what's next? It has, I mean, there's been a lot of improvements, but I know there's always more to be done. So kind of what's next on the priority list?
Yeah, so each year the city and the budget office gets with departments and goes over their capital needs. So we do have a ongoing list of needs that we need or require to be done. I'm gonna see if I can pull that up and share with y'all. But you know, some of it's fair. We get with Cheryl and the fair and go through what they feel might be a priority, and then we get with property maintenance. And touch base with items that they have on their list for us. So I apologize as my screen is sideways, but I'm gonna kind of go over a couple highlighted items. And a lot of these are not new. Some of them have been on the list for years, and it's just a matter of funding and when it comes. But obviously there's a phase 2. Our number 1 item right now, at least on the list, is phase 2 for the annex dehumidification system. So the $972,000 that was put in was for phase 1, which covers one side of the building. So there's a phase 2 for the other side whenever that time comes. So the project dollars is about the same, that $1 million price structure. And then the second item right now is Yesterday Village repairs. So as you know, Kat, there's a lot of old buildings. The roofs get torn off, the insides get wet, and they're very unique and special. So there's also kind of the gravel that has faded throughout the Yesterday Village. So that's kind of on there. That's not a high dollar price, but that was a new item that we added this year. We have general fairgrounds electrical improvements. Just throughout the grounds, a lot of our electrical items are old. And then a lot of roofing pieces on here, a lot of lighting pieces, just upgrading lighting and roofs and those kind of things. So I won't bore you with the whole list, but maybe that's something we can provide to you as a follow-up. If Ben's agreeable to that, I think we can do that.
That'd be good.
But yeah, and then there's some other things, and a lot of this was taken from that master plan. So back in 2016, that master plan came to us, and then we put it into this kind of item. So there's also items on here about improved aesthetics around the facility, upgrading the fence line, make it look more appealing, give it that Disney World kind of look, which, we're slowly trying to get there, but it's, not easy. But we can share this, and thank you for that question, Kat.
Thank you, Robert, for that update.
Haley, I will note that Vicky has joined us, and Otis is on the call. He's just having problems unmuting himself, but he is here listening.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. We'll move to the marketing committee activation.
So I'll start with that. Last fall, we talked about the idea of perhaps reactivating the marketing committee for the Public Assembly Facility Commission. Over the years, particularly when the city still owned the Coliseum, we had, the commission had both a finance committee and a marketing committee. Once the city sold Lawrence Joel, those two committees basically stopped meeting, and because basically the workload, I think, for the most part had changed with the sale of the Coliseum. But here in within the last year or so, there's been a renewed desire to really focus on our programming, our events, particularly at the fairgrounds, to reach a more diverse population. And so last fall, the commission discussed the idea of restarting the marketing committee. So there could be, we could carve out some time and focus on strategies to improve the programming so we can reach more diverse populations. And so this item here is basically to confirm the commission's desire to do that. Honestly, I cannot remember who had volunteered last fall to serve on that committee, but I think it'd be good since we've had some turnover and some new members to seek volunteers to serve on that committee. The charge simply would be to help develop these strategies, provide ideas for how we can, diversify our programming. We'll enlist the help from our Human Relations, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Department in that effort as well. And so, so Haley, I think with that, I think if we want to open it up for volunteers, I can't remember offhand, how many was on the committee over the years, but I would say, if we had, perhaps 4 or 5, that probably would be good. That way you can have maybe a chair of that committee and then 4 other members.
Okay, commissioners, we need a couple volunteers. It looks like Bill stepped up first. So thank you, Bill. Billy.
This is Vicky. I would love to volunteer for the committee as well.
So we got Bill, Billy, Vicky, and I will volunteer also.
This is Ray. I'll do it. If you need a tie break, you got the 4, but if you need 5, I'll come in also.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, I want to make sure, I may have to confirm with the city attorney's office just to make sure that 5 is okay. I don't think 5 is a quorum, because we don't want to have a case where the marketing committee is actually a quorum of the Public Assembly Facility Commission. So, we'll start with this group. And I would suggest, Haley, that you all go ahead and just vote on that just to formalize it.
All right. Commissioners, we are activating the marketing committee subcommittee of our commission. Could I have a motion nominating or electing myself, Billy Rich, Ray Bowden, Vicki Miller? Who am I missing, Rachel? One more.
Bill Oakes.
Bill Oakes as members of the marketing committee.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. Is there any question? All in favor, please let it be known by a roll call vote.
Haley,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Manya,
Aye.
Kathleen,
Aye.
Vicky,
Aye.
Ray,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
and Otis. Can you unmute yet?
No, I think it's *6 on the phone to unmute. There you go.
There we go. I didn't know that. Thank you. Appreciate the help there. I've dialed in before and it's not done that. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, commissioners, for volunteering for the marketing committee. Anything else on that, Ben?
So we'll reach out to you all, try to schedule a meeting here soon. And then probably part of the first agenda will be developing a calendar for this group, but go ahead and hopefully maybe in the next few weeks, try to go ahead and convene this committee.
Thank you so much. We will head into staff updates. We'll start with Bowman Gray Stadium Improvements Project.
So I'll take that one very quickly. So I'm pleased to share with you all that we have completed the project. We had some very fortunate luck with weather, knock on wood, considering what we are experiencing right now. We had some mild temperatures there in November, and our contractor, Frank L. Bloom and WC Construction, were able to move very quickly. And they completed the resurfacing of the track, the new drainage work. So really the only thing that's left are some, what you call punch list type items, transferring information to city staff about the various systems that are in place with our restrooms and concession stands. And so we're just very, very excited, very, very pleased with the results. Hopefully, considering the situation with COVID, we're hoping that we can have perhaps a ribbon cutting sometime, in the next couple of months, maybe in March, right before the start of the racing season. But but we completed the project, came in right about budget. And the only thing I would add is that in the state budget, was money appropriated for motorsports assistance. The Charlotte Motor Speedway, Rockingham, and Wilkesboro Speedways are all going to get a significant amount of money, but there are also a couple of grant programs for the smaller tracks around the state. We're waiting for those guidelines to be issued, but our intent is to apply for money through those programs that would have to be mainly focused on the motorsports. But I think that in my discussions with the Winston-Salem Speedway Inc. team, that the ideas that they're developing would actually benefit the stadium in general and not just specifically motorsports. So that is something that I think is on the horizon, and we'll keep you updated on that.
Thank you, Ben. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to go over there and see those renovations, but they look really good. I was super impressed by the restrooms. I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but those restrooms are super cool. So we appreciate that. It looks really good over there.
Thank you.
Robert, I saw you unmute. Did you have an update or something?
Yeah, well, after Bowman Gray, I'll just jump to Fairgrounds and
Okay.
Thunderbirds. So if no one has anything else, I'll jump to the next item.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. Well, as far as Fairgrounds operations, we've been doing pretty well. We've been open under the same city guidance and mask mandates and safety protocols since earlier in the year. But to this date, we have not had any future cancellations. Our 2022 calendar is fairly full. We have maybe 1 or 2 weekends where we have no events on the books. Everything through December 31st of 2022, we are probably 95% booked as far as weekends go. So we'll have a full schedule rolling through the year, as you'll see, and I'll start getting that event calendar back into these meetings where kind of we posted event attendances and future events now that we're in theory back to somewhat of a normal process. And as far as ice rink goes, we did really well. If you recall, back in July, you guys increased the rate from, I believe, $7 to $10 for public skating during the months of December and January. That did not hurt our attendance at all, nor did we have any negative feedback. So that's been really good for us. And we've had really good crowds. We had one day where we had about 460 people at a 4-hour session. So that was a really good crowd. And then I'll just jumping on to the Thunderbirds. One other thing I'll mention, I know Haley's aware, but back in December as well, we hosted the Winston-Salem State graduation for the winter commencements. And that was a unique event for us, where we had to ultimately cover the ice and recreate the annex into kind of a concert setting so that Winston-Salem State could graduate indoors. And I think from what I've heard, everything went well. We've already been reached out to for a potential event next winter as well. So that event was on a Friday. They graduated, a few hundred students. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but we had about 2,000 folks total in the building, and that was on a Friday. So we covered the ice on Thursday and Friday, and then uncovered it, and we're open for public skating and youth hockey on Saturday morning. So kudos to our staff and those that we worked with, the event group with Winston-Salem State. We did. I was certainly impressed. So.
Yeah, I'll say too, Robert, it was a great event. You guys did a fantastic job for the graduation that day. I think that the only, cool part was that my toes were freezing sitting on the ice. But other than that, you would not know that it was a skating rink in there. The facility was beautiful, and everyone was very easy getting in and out. And so thank you all for all you did that day. It looked great.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. I was able to turn the heat up to like 65 degrees, but the floor was still frozen under there. I couldn't do anything about that. And then as far as Thunderbirds go, they're having a solid season. I think I mentioned last time, I just pulled up this morning, their average attendance through 13 games is 2143. So they've had a good attendance considering COVID and everything like that. We did host their last home game this past Sunday in the middle of a winter storm. Since both teams were in town, we opted to play the game with limited staff and fans. There was only 95 fans in attendance, and staff was quite limited, but they did play Sunday, and then I believe they play in 2 weeks. So they're doing well. And that's all I have, I believe, for those two updates. Any questions on Fairgrounds or Thunderbirds?
All right, thank you, Ben. Carolina Classic Fair update.
I'll go ahead and take this one. Cheryl apologizes for not being here today. But since we met last time, we kind of kicked off in our Fair Folk World, our convention season. Carrie and Cheryl generally are the ones that go out to San Antonio for the International Associations convention each year. But this past year, I got to go, and Lee got to go, our box office manager, because we both got scholarships through the association to get to go. So we were able to attend a bunch of the Institute of Fair Management classes, and we got to see some great entertainers that will hopefully be getting to bring to our fair this year and bring in front of you guys to approve contracts for. We were supposed to go to the state convention in the beginning of this month, but it got rescheduled to March due to COVID. But myself and Carrie will be headed to Denver this week to go to the Institute of Fair Management Summit, where we'll be taking classes pretty much from sunup to sundown all over the weekend about facility contracts, guest services at fairs, crisis communications during your fair, and all sorts of those fun fair management things. But vendor applications are starting to pick back up. We're getting lots of Facebook messages from concessionaires and those kind of things. So fair planning is starting to be back in full swing.
Good to hear. Thank you, Rachel. The Benton.
Good afternoon, everybody. We've had a little bit of oh, there we go. Rachel's going to we'll talk about the carpet first. So over the holiday, we actually replaced all the pre-function carpets. So you can see to your left was what was in the building, and to your right is what it was supposed to be. So a little bit of difference there, so from the pink to the brown. So those of you who don't know, it obviously faded, and the company replaced it, estimate about $750,000 that they had insurance claim on there. So all the pre-function space at the Benton has been completed from Christmas in the City till January the 6th. They got it all down, and it is in place. So we're excited about that. Looks like a brand new pre-function space. So other than the carpet, we lost a piece of business last week due to the COVID. That was about $100,000. They did rebook for later in the year, but we're already starting to see, it's starting to happen again with everybody going back up, people not feeling as comfortable about having meetings. So, we've had a pretty good first 6 months, and we'll see that obviously when the financials come out. But this next couple of months, I believe we're going to be down in January and February, and I think that has a lot to do with the pandemic. We do still have a couple big groups coming. We have the wine growers coming. We have the city county managers coming. So we still have some good groups, but it's not going to be like we were in the fall. And that's about all I have for the Benton, unless anybody has some questions. All right, have an excellent day.
Thank you, Grant. Truth Stadium.
So the one item I wanted to share with the group is that we have executed the new lease agreements with the Winston-Salem Dash. So those are now in place. It took some time, but multiple drafts between attorneys, but we have that in place now. The other thing is that the Major League Baseball did conduct a facility assessment of the stadium, and they have completed that report and are prepared to share that with the team and with city staff so we can determine what the scope will be of the improvements that will be needed to bring the stadium into compliance with the new facility standards. So that process is just beginning. I actually have a meeting with DASH officials tomorrow to talk about next steps in terms of the planning process for those improvements.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben on Truist? I did want to circle back to Bowman Gray really quickly. I know that Winston-Salem State and the city is in partnership with a potential COVID vaccination site. Robert, could you give us a little bit of update on where we are with that?
Yeah, sure. So Wake Forest Baptist reached out to me a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago, regarding using a city facility as a testing site. I believe they also reached out to emergency management with Winston-Salem State. So ultimately what we've come to is it looks like the west parking lot at Bowman Gray Stadium is going to be used for a testing site for some 30-day period, at least to start with. They may do vaccines there, but I think initially it's really a testing site to help relieve some of the emergency room, urgent care testing that's being requested by the general public to take the load off of those facilities. So I actually just spoke with them this morning. It's going to be a project through the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And they may start as early as this week. I'm working on getting a contract routed and signed and all that stuff. The first project's going to be clearing the ice skating rink that's currently in the west parking lot, but we're working on that. And so, yeah, I would expect to see that, if not by the end of this week, early next week, a testing site that will be kind of a one-way into the parking lot and an exit out the other. It's actually a really good flow. There's not event activity that it would interfere with. And the plan is that it will be gone before racing season starts. So thank you, Chair Jingles.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anything from Winston-Salem State side that you guys need?
No, there's not. I've talked to Norman a little bit about it, and I think we've got it all handled. And if I do need anything, I'll reach out to staff over there.
Cool. Thank you. Any further updates from anyone, commissioners, or any further questions? If not, our next meeting is February 21st. Thank you, Rachel, as always, for sending out our information. And with that, we will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.